Hey guys, it's Squall, and this is part 33 of Everlasting Summer. And I realize you may be so confused right now as to why I'm all the way over here in this part of the story. I have clearly skipped so much. I know it makes no sense, but it will later on in the video. Something pretty interesting happened. Not interesting, but you'll see. You'll see at the very end. Not my most brilliant moment. But here we go. So, what will we do when we reach the district center? Call our parents. What else? Alisa smiled slightly. She had someone to call. And then? Then it's all over. Meaning? Well, we'll leave for our homes. I wasn't really surprised by this answer. I just hadn't thought about what would happen after the term ended. And if that's it? What else is there? I don't know. After all that happened, nothing happened at all, she told me merrily. What do you mean nothing happened? We'll have a chance to find Lena. I was surprised, but Alisa said it absolutely kindly. As if I need Lena. Don't you? To be honest, Lena was the last person I was thinking about now. No. Then maybe it's me? I looked at Alisa attentively. She grinned spitefully, and she was weeping just recently. What about you? I evaded the question. What do you think about me? I don't know. Maybe you can just say it straight out? A long silence fell. Alisa is waiting for a straight answer, but I can't sort it out for myself. This pioneer camp, and now the girl who wants to hear something I can't say that easily. You see, then I really understood. Understood that now it's no use trying to be cunning and holding things back. I almost managed to break out of the cage. The worst is over. Or on the contrary, the worst is yet to come, but it's time to speak plainly. You see, what you're expecting from me is almost impossible. Looks like everything's impossible for you. She sniffed. It's weird to say it, but it's true. I don't know what will happen to me, not even necessarily tomorrow, but in the next second. What might it be? You vanish into thin air? Quite possibly. She burst into peals of laughter. You know, I was ready for any excuses, but not one like that. Those aren't excuses, just listen. Alisa gazed at me attentively and, it seemed, had no intention of interrupting. You see, I don't belong to this place. I'm not talking about the camp, but about the whole world. All of you here are completely strange, incomprehensible people to me. As you are for us, actually. I'm not even sure if you are for my planet or my reality. Quit it now, Alisa said tiredly. Imagine that once you fell asleep and woke up in a completely different place. And not just place, but a different time as well. That's what happened to me. I used to live in the early 21st century in a city far away from here. I was somewhat older than I looked now. I had my own life, regardless of whether it was good or bad, it was my own. And then one night I took a bus, fell asleep and woke up here. As a 17-year-old pioneer. Alisa looked at me in surprise. You expect me to believe you? I don't know. It's up to you. It really wasn't easy for me to tell you that. You're a master storyteller, really. Just a sec. I rummaged through my pockets and showed her my phone. To my great surprise, there was still some battery. The screen was glowing brightly. Have you ever seen something like this? Do you have something like it? I held it out to Alisa. She fidgeted with it, pressing buttons. Well, some kind of imported foreign toy, so what? It's not a toy, it's a telephone. And where are the wires? Where's the handset? She laughed. There's no need for them. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate to you how it works because they're still not invented in your time. Yeah, sure, she said skeptically and handed me my phone back. Anyway, it's your decision whether to believe me or not. I told you all this only to explain what position I'm in now. I still don't know what would happen to me in an hour, so such decisions... Fine, you don't have to say any more. And you don't have to make any decisions. She got up and pushed some more firewood onto the fire. If I've offended you... Nah, everything's fine, she said coldly. I understand. You're a visitor from the future, so normal girls like me don't interest you. You got me wrong. No, I didn't. It's a very credible, logical, and above all, truthful tale. Any girl would dig it. So you still think that I'm making up excuses? Lisa stayed silent. Or that I've gone completely mad? One could expect anything from you. Why do you have to be like this? I said sadly. And what about me? I've done nothing wrong. She grinned spitefully. Just imagine that it's all true and understand why I behave so. I already imagined, understood. I was about to say something else, but a horn sounded from the road. There was a bus on the roadside. Elias on a regular route. It's odd that we hadn't noticed its approach. At last, salvation. Shall we go? Alisa asked in a completely bland, emotionless voice. Yeah, sure. I grabbed the backpack. I can manage it myself. She took it from me. It's obvious that it was too heavy for her, but I didn't object. Soon, we sat peacefully on the back seat of the bus. Various feelings fought inside of me. On one hand, I was glad beyond measure to get to the civilized world. On the other, I was guilt-stricken by the unfinished conversation with Alisa. Sorry that I acted so... You expected something different. I expected nothing of you, she replied coldly. I just wanted you to understand. And concerning our relationship, I like you. Really. Glad to hear that. But her voice didn't sound so glad. I said it honestly. You see, I don't know what will happen next, but here and now, guess last night you liked me even more. No, you misunderstood. Should we do it again while the driver can't see us? Calm down for a second, okay? I didn't even think about it. What's the matter? You want it, I don't care. It's the only thing I'm good for. Alisa, wait. Okay, I want to sleep. She reclined on her seat and closed her eyes. Wait a sec. I'm sleeping. Let's talk later. I didn't object. After all, it's good to seek counsel from your pillow. Besides, Alisa needs some time to calm down. Although, of course, I was desperate to explain everything to her in a way she'd understand. But I held back. Still, I was sick at heart. We were alone on the bus. Outside, dark shadows were passing by. Sometimes it was possible to discern a tree, a river on the pylons of a power transmission line, or the pylons. But the landscape seemed not to differ from the one in the camp. Maybe the world isn't a circle and we're just moving around it? Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I just stared at the floor and thought about tomorrow. What will happen? The city, this planet, this time, all are strange to me. And I further talked with Alisa, who was totally disappointed with me. The process of waiting happens to be more tiresome than its result. And finally, things bound to happen don't look so important or fearsome. All your strength is exhausted. There's just tiredness and emptiness in your soul. The bus was driving into the unknown. I couldn't resist and fell asleep. Telling Alisa the truth was a bad move. Telling Lena the truth was the correct move. Makes you think. I glanced at the stage where I'd been standing just an hour ago. Once again, joy, pleasure, and excitement gripped me. This won't be the last time I appear on that stage, for sure. Maybe even grander stage like concert halls and Olympic stadiums are in my future. Who knows? Anything is possible now. To saying goodbye to my mates, I ran to the bus stop and luckily caught the 410 bus. Nobody was inside. I took a seat behind the driver, just like back then. Some familiar tune could be heard from the radio. Maybe one day my songs will also be played on the radio. In some way, these trips were similar to the events that took place a year ago. I mean, at the moment everything is as expected, achieved by means of hard work, and the planned result is fulfilled. But I'm returning as another man. A man who has changed, in a way. Cool deal. Alright guys, and now for the good ending. I sat on the bench with the solid intention of not moving from here until the come and get it bell sound comes. Pioneers were running by. They were smiling and shouting merrily. Who shouts merrily? How does one shout merrily? I don't know. Yes, the day was definitely a wonderful one. I glanced over at the square and saw Lena approaching. Relaxing? Something like that. She sat by me and looked at the sky. Nice day, huh? It is. It was a bit awkward. Lena seemed different. She was not embarrassed, her face was not red, she was confident. And a confident Lena can be a dangerous Lena. So, about that conversation. Told you everything already. Yeah, but just forget it. If you say so. We sat for a little longer in silence. I just can't. Not like that. So what do you think about Alisa? She said, ignoring my inquiry. What do I think about Alisa? I repeated, lost in thought. I don't really know. Why? You're just so worried about yesterday. Well, of course, but what does that have to do with it? There's a direct connection there. She laughed. Let's assume. So what? Well, and again I started thinking. Really, what do I think of her? Well, she can be arrogant at times. That's right. What else can I say? Now that I think of it, I don't know Alisa at all. The way she acts does annoy me sometimes. If you were wondering if I had any negative feelings about her, then no. I mean, she gets carried away, but everyone has their quirks. Lena stared at me. Really? Did I say something wrong? No, not really. She laughed out loud one more time, just before the lunch bell sound came. Right, see you. I didn't stop her, although I had a lot of questions left. But how do I ask them? Should I? I got up and slowly shuffled to the canteen. There were only a few spots left, so I had to sit with Electronic and Shirk. Did you deliver it? Yeah, I answered lazily, poking my fork at the buckwheat kasha. No incidents? No incidents. What was in there anyway? You didn't open it, did you? He stared. No. Great. Finishing my meal, I went out. I was struck by a sudden yawn. Taking a nap wouldn't be a bad idea. I headed to the camp leader's cabin. It felt like the summer sun was going to melt the whole planet, together with all its inhabitants. There was nowhere to hide. The sunlight seemed to reflect from every surface. Looking up, you risk going blind. You know, now that I think about it, in American movies, Russia is always depicted as a really cold place where there's blizzards going on all the time. It's crazy to think that, I mean, they're a normal country like any other country. They have summer too. That's so odd, I hadn't thought about that. Using my last bit of strength, I pulled the door handle, entered the room, and fell onto the bed. Of course, I wouldn't expect the cabin to be really cool, but it was much better than outside. Blissfully, I stretched out on the bed and closed my eyes. Strangely, sleep deserted me. I was overwhelmed with thoughts teeming in my head. Here's another theory, a solution to the problem of how I got here. Here's an explanation of what's going on here. And here's the true form of all those inhabiting this place. I remembered Lena saying, "What do you think about Alisa?" Seriously, what do I think of her? What can I think of a person I've only known for a few days? Can I just draw conclusions based on a couple of words and deeds? Although her deeds, I laughed a bit. Any relevant organization would draw the right conclusion based on the monument bombing. Still though, I don't care. Maybe I really don't think anything of her. Can one be interested in a person who's not interesting? Alisa is anything but not interesting. No, that's some sort of absurdity. A knock on the door. Come in! I was too lazy to get up, so I just sat up a little bit. Hey. The door opened and I saw Alisa. What a coincidence. She stopped, unsure, and stared at me for a couple of seconds. I guess you were looking for the camp leader? Why would she, though? No? What's up then? Just looking for you. She sounded calm and not aggressive at all. I caught myself thinking I was not afraid of her and had no concerns when she behaved like that. Normally. What for? I want to make everything clear. She sat on the bed across from me. What exactly? I want to clean up any misunderstandings or miscommunications. Alright, I'm up for that. You spoken with Lena today? Yes. About what? Nothing really. You're lying. Alisa looked stiff and worried. She crossed her legs and bit her lip. You do understand, I'm always assumed to be guilty whenever anything happens. Well, you always are guilty, I said thoughtlessly. A spark flashed in her eyes, but she kept talking calmly. Maybe. But in this case, me and Lena, we're always like that. Even if she starts something, she's all innocent, and I take all the blame. So you're saying that Lena... Actually, I don't really know what you're saying. You never understand anything, do you? She fumed. This is strange. I wouldn't call myself slow. I'd call you slow. So explain. You do know Lena likes you. She went red after those words. No, I answered truthfully. Well, now you do. Now I do. An uncomfortable silence overtook the room. I was processing what she said, and Alisa seemed unsure of how to continue the conversation. Lena likes me. Could I ever have guessed? Unlikely. My intuition is usually good, but when it's about me and my feelings, it does not work at all. The weirdest thing was, I accepted the news with almost no worries. Right at that moment, I was listening to Alisa. I was focused only on her. I could think about the rest later. She thinks I'm gonna steal you away from her. She thinks that all the time. Understand? You know, it's always the other way around. Everyone looks at her cause she's such an angel. Nobody pays any attention to me. To them, I'm just a shoulder to cry on. Alisa started screaming. Look, please don't get so upset. I don't think of you like that. Of course. I still had no idea what forced her to be so honest. And I didn't know how to react. Moreover, I was not worried at all. It was like I was watching another episode of some TV series, and what was going on in the room was on the other side of the screen. I understand. I was the reason for all of it. But today Lena said it was okay. That's just like her. You've probably realized that she's not as quiet as she wants to seem. I'd started to guess. If I can do anything... Tell me. Alisa raised her eyes. Only then did I see she's been crying. Some sort of worry stirred inside of me. I could not treat this conversation like I was an outsider anymore. Do you like Lena? Do you like me? I guess I should have expected a question like that, but I just wasn't ready. Just like that. Lena is nice, of course. But Alisa has her good points as well. Besides, the way she was at the moment, she could seriously compete with Lena. I don't really know you two at all. A question like that? It's difficult to answer directly. If I could say no, I would've, at that very moment. But I had only one chance for the other answer as well. And I didn't know what to choose. You did want the situation to resolve itself? Of course, but... Why but again? Why again? Why? Look, we're going nowhere with this. Well, answer then. Her face fell back into its usual bold arrogance. I need time to think. Well, go ahead and think. Alisa stood up abruptly and headed out. Don't forget we have plans for tonight, she said on the threshold, smiling. The door closed behind her before I could say anything. Plans? What kind of plans? The talk with Alisa left a heavy impression on me. So, Lena likes me. On its own, the news could shock and startle, and I, above that, was also forced to make a choice. A difficult one, to put it mildly, and any choice I make would be a mistake for someone. If only I could refuse them both. Although I didn't like the word refuse itself. If I could just answer her question with a no, it would be easier. But I knew it couldn't work like that. After I talked to Alisa, I realized nothing would ever be the same again. It can't be, no matter what happens. And I'll have to make a decision. Since I rejected the no scenario, I needed to pick a positive solution. If, of course, I could live with it. But I was sure that out of all the possible outcomes, there's one that won't just satisfy everyone, but would also be one that I would want to strive for. And the choice seems obvious. Lena. Is it because I'm purposely going for a bad route? Or a bad ending, I mean? She's pretty. She's cute. She's kind. But then again... Oh, okay. But then again, there was also something about Alisa that attracted me. Hey. You know something, ma'am? You give me that look a lot. And I do so much for you, and for your camp, and for your pioneers. And you do nothing. What do? You lay down here in your messy bed, and you read your books, and then you barge into places, and you put your fist on your hips, and then you stare at me with those big green eyes of yours, and you pout at me. I am sick of this. I am sick of this, ma'am. I am a human being. I deserve to be treated with respect. I don't even know where I am. This isn't my home. I'm in some pioneer camp from the 80s. Don't get mad at me. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright. I just needed to get that out. Suddenly the door flew open, and wouldn't you know it, Olga Dmitrievna came in. Lounging around again, huh? Well, aren't you want to talk? Just resting. It's so hot out there. Go and help Slavia. She was asking around. Where? I asked lazily. In the sports field. Reluctantly, I got up and headed out. I should really air my brain out anyway. There were a lot of people at the sports grounds. Some were playing football, others were playing badminton. Badminton. Younger kids were just chasing each other. Semyon! Wait, what was Slavia's voice? Semyon! Slavia walked up to me. You require my assistance? I asked, all official-like. Yeah. Listen, did you take the infirmary key? No. Why me again, anyway? Well, you were there a lot recently. I guess she is right. No. Maybe you know who did? No. Why? The nurse came up to me to ask for my key. You know that I have a key to every building in the camp. She said hers went missing. Could she have lost it? I shrugged. No. She says she couldn't have. I don't know, okay? Okay. She smiled and ran off. Huh. I headed to the camp leader's house, determined to get some sleep after all. Olga Dmitrievna wasn't there, thank goodness, so I fell on the bed and lost consciousness. I don't exactly remember what I dreamt of, but it left a heavy impression, as afternoon naps often do. Whoa. Is this new? I don't remember this. I put some effort into getting off the bed and looked at the clock. It was just after 7. Not surprising if you think about it. I should have expected to sleep through the day. Although, as it turns out, I missed dinner as well. That thought made me uncomfortable, and I headed to the exit. I stopped on the threshold and thought of what to do next. I don't know how long I would have stood there. My head was still heavy after sleep, if someone hadn't called out to me. Slavia was quickly walking towards the cabin. Semyon, she started, breathless. You sure you don't have the infirmary key? Of course not. Why would I need it? Well, do you know who took it? No, I don't. Why? Well, something has gone missing. Oh no. What? Something important. Slavia hesitated. Some medication. So all this disturbance was started because of some medicine? Although, I pondered. I mean, I have the bottle in my cabin. Did she mean that? I tried to keep my face still as stone without doing anything to give myself away. Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. Slavia said in frustration. I looked at her and tried to figure out how bad the situation was for me, or whether I was in any trouble at all. On the one hand, the vodka, I did steal it. Then again, she's saying it's gone, as in disappeared, all by itself with no external influence. Although it's highly unlikely that she would say that a bottle of trophy vodka was stolen from the infirmary. So the way it was said was okay, the problem was different. I suddenly got really scared. What if they find out it was me? Even if it wasn't about the bottle, they'd still find it while looking for what was gone. Basically, I had to get a move on. The main thing to do right now was to get rid of all the evidence. Oh, this should be good. I jumped into the cabin, shoved the bottle under my belt and raced to the forest. burying it somewhere was the best decision at the moment. I took my time looking for a spot, never noticing night falling on the camp. A familiar voice surprised me. "Hey!" I struggled to turn back, making my face look as casual as possible. "So, what's going on here?" "Oh, I'm just having a walk." My voice sounded calm, but I already understood I couldn't fool Alisa. "Alone? At night? In the woods?" "Well, yeah. What's wrong?" "Nothing. Nothing at all." She stared at me. "Okay then. Ow. Hold on. Are you forgetting something?" "Don't think so." "We had an agreement." About tonight." I think she's right. There was something like that. "Yes, but you see..." "No, I don't. Let's go." She turned around and gestured me to follow. I thought there was no point in arguing. Any word or action could give me away. And then, sighing, I followed. Well, I mean, Alisa wouldn't tell on you. It's her cabin. It was a couple of minutes before we reached her cabin. While we were walking, I was busy trying to find the best time and place to ditch the vodka, but Alisa stayed so close that I couldn't manage anything. "Well?" She stared at me. "Well, what?" I was so nervous that my hair was wet with sweat. The only thing on my mind at the moment was how to adjust the bottle so she wouldn't notice. "What do you say?" "About what?" Alisa pondered. "Okay, I guess you're right. I brought you here, so I'm the one to decide." "Okay." I agreed, unsure. "Hold on a minute." She reached under the bed and in a few seconds... "What are you up to, Alisa?" Pulled out the bottle of vodka. I was shocked. Surprised, huh? Of course. Not by the vodka itself though, but by the fact that it was the exact bottle I carried to the infirmary in the morning. The murky contents gave it away. "So?" Alisa looked at me teasingly. "What? Wanna take a shot?" I didn't even know what to say to that. What she had was just rotten water. The real vodka was in the bottle under my belt. Well, I kind of... "Don't tell me you don't drink." Alisa pouted. "Why are you surprised? He's like a teenager. Well, 17 going on 18, something like that. But, I mean, he still shouldn't be drinking." "Well, I don't know the laws in Russia. It might be different." "I don't know. No, I just..." "Alright then. Just a second." In just an instant, Alisa got 2 glasses and filled them to the brim. "Let's do this," she said, giving me one of the glasses and down hers before I could answer. "Yeah," she gasped. In a moment, she realized. "What on earth is that?" She started spitting. "They call this vodka?" Despite my difficulty, I couldn't help laughing. "What are you laughing at?" Alisa shouted, red in the face. "Oh, I didn't shout. Now I have to go back and do it." "What are you laughing at?" "That's better," Alisa shouted, red in the face. "I'm asking you, what's so funny?" "It actually is funny." "So you're having fun? Drink yours. We'll see how you laugh then." I had no desire to try to still water, but just to avoid making her suspicious, I asked, "So, how does it taste?" "Like rotten water," Alisa said, upset. She's going to relax a bit, having a cultured time out, and then it... A cultured time out, I repeated as a new bout of laughter bit me in half. "Hey, stop it," Alisa shouted and jumped at me. She was trying to hit me or bite me or something. Maybe her plan was to crush me to death with her authority. I just grabbed her hands, and all she could do was gasp in powerless anger. Holy fudge! All was going fine, but then Alisa's legs slid and she began to fall. I let go of her hands, so she fell right on top of me, painfully headbutting me in the nose. I moaned in pain and threw her off and turned to the side. What do we have here? When I realized she had taken the bottle, all the pain disappeared. "Give that back!" I tried to get the bottle back, but Alisa nimbly jumped off the bed and ran to the far corner of the room. "Let's see, huh?" She immediately removed the cap and took a big gulp. This girl is insane. In a moment, her face went red and her eyes seemed to pop out of their sockets. What is this?" she rasped while coming back to her senses. "That's the actual vodka." I seem to have come to terms with my defeat. "Where did you get it?" "You really thought you had stolen the right run from the infirmary?" She nodded. "Well, it was the right bottle, sure, but the contents..." "Man, you're clever." She was already starting to slur her words. "Oh my gosh, Alisa." Alisa came to the window, poured the water out of my glass, and replaced it with vodka. "Come on." "I don't want it." "Really, this is not the right time or place. We are going to get in a hell of trouble for this." "Drink it, or else I'll tell everyone you stole the bottle." "But it was you." "Well, you have the vodka." "You can't prove that." "You think I even have to?" Alisa said maliciously. Unsure what to do, I stared at the glass. What's important is to get rid of vodka. This was just one of the ways to do it. I breathed it out abruptly and swallowed the contents of the glass in one quick motion. A short moment after, I regretted that. "Got any food to chase this?" "Wait a second," Alisa said excitedly and pulled a huge stick of ham out of her drawer. "Yeah, 'cause that's where she keeps her ham." I tore it from her hands and bit off a big piece. Phew. "So was it?" "You're asking? It's not like I have full-strength booze every day, you know? And really understand how I'd agree to this so easily." "Well, how was it?" Like double bubble with vodka flavor." "Alright, time for another round then." She opened the bottle again and poured us half a glass each. "Don't you think that's enough?" "No way." "Well, since we've already started..." The alcohol was starting to work. Without a second thought, I gulped down the vodka. Alisa was definitely less experienced. She was having some trouble with her second glass. How does it... She seemed really drunk already. "If you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen," I said merrily, pouring myself some more. Somewhere deep inside I realized it was too much, but the gun was already loaded. "Don't mean you have to pull the trigger, Semyon." How about me?" Alisa was outraged. Haven't you had enough? No way. She grabbed the bottle from my hand and started to drink straight from it. Hey, we have glasses, you know. Skrill 'em! She shouted and roared in laughter. This is so cool, she said, catching her breath. Sure, it's not bad. I looked at the bottle. We'd gone through 2/3. I was definitely drunk by that point, and Alisa seemed even worse. Then again, there was barely anything left. I sighed and poured a full glass for myself and a half for Alisa. That's all? With these words, she chucked the bottle from the window. What if they find it? Who cares? We both laughed. Okay then, for all ladies present, I grunted and drank. And for all the gentlemen, she followed my lead. Getting dizzy. She undid a few buttons on her shirt. I carefully looked at her. Had she always been this beautiful? No, that's just the vodka talking. Or is everyone beautiful to me at this point? No, whichever it was, I could not force myself to look away. You're gonna stare a hole through me if you keep looking at me like that. Alisa laughed. Sorry. Embarrassed, I stared at my feet. You can look if you're so interested. With some effort, I opened an eye and saw her continuing to unbutton her shirt. This is gonna have so much consequences. No words could escape my mouth. Besides, who needs words at a moment like this? What happened then was what was supposed to happen. At the time, I was unable to think of what was right to do. And I didn't want to. I just felt good. The light bulb burned out, or when it was turned off the light. But either way, the room went dark. I looked around her cabin and thought of something. Hey, where's Uliana? What? You're afraid someone will come in and see us? She grinned warmly. Could happen. I asked her to spend the night at another girl's cabin. Wait, so you planned all this? Well, not something like this, of course. She looked at me intently, smiled, and closed her eyes. Yeah. I stared at the ceiling for a while longer and soon heard quiet, deep breathing. Alisa was asleep. My head ached suddenly. The alcohol seemed to be wearing off. Best thing to do in this case is to follow her lead and get some sleep as well. Before I finished the thought, I was already fast asleep. Some people were chasing me. Maybe they weren't people but fuzzy black blots with a hellish landscape in the background. I ran, stumbling over something, having no air to breathe. My whole essence was overtaken by primal fear and terror. And then a memory lapse. I opened my swollen eyelids only for my eyes to be struck by bright daylight. A terrible taste in my mouth, pains all over my body, and a severe headache. Seems someone was drinking hard yesterday. After coming to my senses, I stuttered to recall the events of last night. I believe there was a bottle of vodka which I happily emptied together with Alisa. I tried to stand up, but something was pinning my left arm. It was the peacefully snoring Alisa. Everything that happened returned to my mind. Fear was quickly replaced by a feeling of euphoria. I relaxed lazily on the bed, enjoying a beautiful hungover morning. Sometime later, Alisa woke up. I kissed her softly and said, "Good morning." She gave me a blank look for a couple of seconds and then jumped up shouting, You! Me what? Yesterday you... She hissed. But it was kind of your idea. I was drunk. So was I. What can you do? Oh boy. I know where this is heading. Alisa was furiously looking at me, but then calmed down and sat beside me. Right. Whatever happened, happened. You sure? I got up and tried to hug her. Don't. She whispered, blushing. Why? Because. Alisa frantically shook her head. Because it's 4 o'clock already. And what? Don't tell me you're late for something. Everyone will leave without us. Leave where? Today is the last day. The last day of what? I asked, completely confused. The last day of the term. What? The hangover that seemed to have already passed a while ago made a sharp comeback. Don't tell me you didn't know, asked Alisa in surprise. So, you did know it? Well, yes. But I'd forgotten it somehow. And what should we do now? Actually, that wasn't the main thing that I was concerned about. If today's the last day, then everyone will go somewhere. So I can get out of this camp somehow. Well, I have no idea. Maybe we can still make it. I jumped out of the bed and started dressing quickly. It was difficult as my coordination was badly disturbed by yesterday's lavish indulgence. Well, what are you waiting for? Alisa didn't reply but started dressing too. A couple of minutes later, we were standing at the deserted square. Let's go to the camp leader's cabin. After opening Olga Dmitrievna's cabin with my key, I found nobody inside. We checked the entire camp and found that we were alone here. You guys missed the bus? After returning to the square, I sat down and covered my face with hands like a doomed man. Still felt sick, but now it turned out that I had to solve a serious problem. There is something in my kitchen. Hold on a second. Okay. Where would they have gone? Well, to the district center, I guess. Do you know where it is? Approximately. Is it possible to reach it on foot? Don't know. And how long would it take on a bus? A couple of hours. Quickly, I reckon how much that is in kilometers. Taking into consideration the quality of the Soviet motor car industry and Soviet roads, one could presume that it is quite possible to reach it on foot, provided that Alisa knows the exact direction. Moreover, in my situation, it's not easy to decide on such steps. But we can't stay here either. Alone, without food in a deserted pioneer camp. In real life, it would definitely be a bad idea, and I had no other choice but to treat everything happening as reality. Well, let's go. Where? To the district center. Are you mad? You'd prefer to stay here? Sure. They'll notice that we're missing and we'll return. Don't you think it's odd that they didn't notice it during departure? Well, yeah, but She started to think. But to go somewhere all on our own? But you said you knew the direction. I do. She agreed without confidence. So what's there to think about? Maybe we'll encounter some local buses on the way. I don't really believe that myself, but if there is an exit from this camp, this idea seems quite solid. I don't know. As you say. She prattled on confusedly. Then start packing your stuff. Meet here in half an hour. I ran towards Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. The last time I left a depressed girl by herself to pack her stuff, I'm just saying. Yes, not much to pack. I tossed my warm clothes into a bag and I was about to go when an interesting thought crossed my mind. What would I actually need them for? It doesn't seem to be late summer, so what's the point in dragging unnecessary weight along? Especially since I don't know how far I have to walk. After reasoning that one could survive such weather without a coat and warm boots, I shoved my cell phone with its dying battery into my pocket and went to the square. I had to wait at least 20 minutes for Alisa. My hangover seemed to ease a little so I could better focus on the previous night. What does she really mean to me? Was it just drunken sex or something more? Naturally, I can't speak for Alisa. It's difficult even to speak for myself. I began to remember the course of my acquaintance with her, how she teased and mocked me at first, her arrogance and self-confidence. It was more than compensated by the tenderness of last night. It was already clear that she is not the person she wants to seem like. But what kind of person is the real Alisa? And do I have any feelings towards her? I do feel sympathy, a sort of affection, but is there something more? My reflections were interrupted by Alisa. Here, take it. She held out a huge backpack to me. Oh, what's this? I asked skeptically. My stuff. Why so little? Brought as much as I could fit. Look, we don't know how far we have to go. Maybe you can take only the most necessary things? So what? I just have to throw it away? Leave it here? And Alisa sniffed. Firstly, I couldn't understand why she even has that much stuff, and secondly, what's so valuable in there? But the chivalrous duty of carrying it is mine, isn't it? Of course. She smiled archly. I evaluate how much it would weigh. But about 10 kilos, I guess. I can carry that for a few kilometers, but not much further than that. You do understand I will not get very far with it. Well, we'll do our best. You mean I can throw something out later? We'll see. She answered with her eyes flashing slyly. Okay, taking you at your word. After all, as I have to carry it, I have the right to throw things out of it. And so our journey began. It took me at least an hour to start getting tired. I would never have thought that I possessed such stamina. Either the backpack was easy to carry or last night's exercises had trained my muscles. I stopped on the roadside and threw Alisa's belongings to the ground. What are you doing? She was clearly resentful. Do you want to carry it yourself? Of course not. In that case, I need to rest. Naturally, the most rational decision was to get rid of most of the stuff, keeping only the most necessary things. But I couldn't bring myself to such drastic measures. Yeah, I feel like she would beat you if you tried that. You've been keeping silent for the whole time. Lisa was staring vacantly down the road that receded into the distance. What is there to talk about? Don't know. But you're behaving as if nothing happened. Did something happen? She asked absent-mindedly. Well, you know. Had enough rest? Then let's go. Alisa began to quickly walk away from me. Hey, wait a minute. I shouldered the backpack and ran after her. We'd been traveling in silence for some time, with Alisa slightly ahead and me behind. I had no idea how to start a conversation. She seems to be giving out obvious hints that the night's events were one big mistake. At least, it seems so to me. Though from my point of view, what happened was meant to happen. Yeah, of course you feel that way. For the last few days in the camp, I'd definitely been attracted to Alisa. And I do believe she was attracted to me as well. In that case, what's the problem? Maybe she doesn't want it to be just a one night stand? You know... She turned and looked at me. If I did something wrong... You did nothing wrong. But it just turned out this way. So it was just an accident? I didn't say that. Then what did you say? My inability to get a straight answer made me begin to lose my temper, and I raised my voice. You're just giving me hints, ambiguities. What about straightforwardness, sincerity? You were like this before. People tend to change. She slowly paced forward. Change? You call this a change? You are a completely different person now. Just like Lena, really. Alisa stopped, but didn't turn. Don't compare? Got it? Don't compare me with her. She spoke quietly, but there was rage in her voice. What? I was somewhat taken aback. Blame me for everything? But what about yourself? You're constantly looking at her. Even now you managed to see her in me. Wait, what? Why did you come yesterday then? You could have gone to her. You did know... Did know what? Didn't know that I was waiting for you? It seems that making this confession was a hard decision for Alisa, but at first I assigned little significance to her words. Well, you yourself told me to come yesterday, so I... This isn't about that. Alisa burst into sobs and covered her face with hands. I was completely taken aback. I still didn't get what she was hinting at, so it was impossible to talk normally. Sorry. Forgive me. Stop apologizing. But if I said or did something wrong, so what's the point in apologizing if you already did? Better to behave yourself in the beginning. But I don't know how. Alisa looked up at me. There was so much sorrow in her gaze that I couldn't bear it and turned away. We stood like that for some time. Soon she seemed to pull herself back together. Okay, forget it. Let's move on. Naturally, I couldn't forget it even if I wanted to, but I had nothing to say anyway, so I followed her in silence. Yeah, I've noticed throughout Alisa's story that her and Lena really seem to be the yin and yang of each other. So alike, but so different at the same time. The sun was slowly moving below the horizon. I was immersed in thoughts and even forgot about that heavy backpack on my back. I had to say something, do something. Alisa is expecting me to. At least a few words. But what should I begin with? I'd gotten used to everything in my life being quite simple. Any task seemed to be already finished after only a few steps. Instead of considering the long way to my goal, I immediately started to think about the results, enjoying an unachieved victory. Moreover, I doubt I'd have to face a situation like this in the real world. Obviously, for a long time I dreamed about a person who could care about me. But right now such a person is in front of me and yet I feel nothing. And I can't tell Alisa either yes or no just because I don't know what will happen next. Meanwhile, it got dark. I guess we should make a camp for the night. There's not that much left to go. Are you sure? And even if that's so, it's better to travel during the daytime. You know best, she answered coldly. We stopped at the edge of a wood. You got anything useful in there? I pointed at the backpack. Have a look. Mainly footwear and clothes were there, but on the bottom I found a magazine and a box of matches. Quite enough to light a fire. Soon we were sitting on a fallen tree and warming our hands by the fire. Only now that I finally realized that I'd finally gotten out of that damned camp. I'd found no answers. On the contrary, everything had become even more tangled as, I guess, I am able to spend the rest of my life in this reality. If I don't take into consideration all the sci-fi stuff, it's clear that I'm somewhere in the South at the end of the 80s. How and more importantly why I was brought here is not so important now, as I have to somehow adapt. And I had to begin with the girl sitting by my side. So, what will we do when we reach the district center? Call our parents. What else? Alisa smiled slightly. She had someone to call. And then it's all over. Meaning? We'll leave for our homes. I wasn't really surprised by this answer. I just hadn't thought about what would happen after the term ended. And that's it? What else is there? I don't know. After all that happened. But nothing happened at all, she told me merrily. What do you mean nothing happened? I'll have a chance to find Lena. I was surprised, but Alisa said it absolutely kindly. As if I need Lena. Wouldn't be so sure. And I am sure. Let me decide for myself. Yes? When did you start to do such silly things? I suddenly remembered my current age. 17 years ago. Well, admirable. But to be honest, I didn't notice anything like that. What exactly should you have noticed? That you're able to say something without a single doubt. She was absolutely right on this point. And what exactly do you want to hear? You know what? This game of hints could last forever. If you want to know how I feel towards you, then I'll speak frankly. I don't know myself. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Alisa turned away. What can I do? That's the truth. What can I do? I don't ask anything of you. Yes? Are you sure? Sure, I answered after a while. What were you doing all 7 days in the camp? What was I doing? You were asking, weren't you? What was I asking for? For what reason? Can you talk in a way that people can understand? The mind readers are on vacation. If you wanted to, you would understand. I can't understand without an explanation. It's okay. It's just idle talk. She stood up and went towards the road. No way! I lost my temper completely, so I jumped up, ran up to her in a couple of strides, grabbed her hand and pulled her towards me. But I had miscalculated the amount of strength I should use, and we fell to the ground with Alisa lying beneath me. What? Yesterday wasn't enough? One more? Her face was glowing, her eyes were flashing. I felt really mixed up. I released the girl's hand but didn't stand up at once. I just want to understand. Where did I go wrong? Why are you always thinking that you went wrong somewhere? Because you think so? Who told you that? I didn't? But I can see it. You see everything, don't you? You see and draw conclusions that you shouldn't interfere, that you should lie low, say nothing. I draw conclusions based on logic. Are you sure that logic of yours is correct? I didn't know what to say about that. For some time we just lay there. I was completely confused, and it seems that Alisa didn't want to continue our conversation. Finally, she pushed me away and stood up. Why are you here now? With me? Because everyone left the camp and we stayed. Not talking about that. Well, because I like you. Finally, I dared to say it directly. Are you sure? What about Lena? She was always next to you. Maybe she's too much work. What about me? I'm very simple. Just snap your fingers and I'm in your bed. I wouldn't say it's that simple with her. Yeah, if memory serves me, you had to annihilate your liver. Don't put words in my mouth. You say nothing, so there's plenty of room there. But you think for a dozen others. Well, she was absolutely right on that point. I didn't say anything like that. So, do I have to just simply believe all of this? You don't have to believe. I'm not forcing you. But it's the truth, so I'm not going to make anything up. Words should be proven with actions. What action is she expecting from me? Well, we could do it again, I said with a stupid smile. I had no idea how I even dared to think of joking in such a situation, especially a joke like that. Sure, come on, Alisa said in a calm voice, walked to the fire and started to undress. I jumped up, ran to her and grabbed her arm. What are you doing? Wait, I didn't mean that. Well, what's the big deal? Don't you need me just for that? Of course not, you got me all wrong. How should I get you then? She pulled her arm free and started crying. I lay down beside her, hugged her and started patting her head. Everything's alright. Calm down. Leave me alone, she said through the tears but didn't try to free herself. You see, I had a hard life before this camp. I just haven't gotten used to this. I don't know how to act in situations like this. I've been alone for a long time. No friends. No loved ones. I've just forgotten how to feel and how to love. It's hard for me. It's so much easier not to get mixed up in those matters. Finally, it became just normal not to. And here we are. Something I never could have imagined. It doesn't mean that I'm an egotistical bastard. Although I guess it seems that maybe I am. It just... I just can't do that right away. Alisa didn't reply and continued crying. But I know one thing for sure. There's nothing between me and Lena. She's a friend, nothing more. I never looked at her that way. And I need you, not only for what you think I want. I just don't know how to tell you the things that you want to hear. They'd carry obligations. You see, I'm in the kind of situation now where I don't even know what will happen to me in the next hour. And here, Alisa seemed to not be listening to me at all, or my excuses just didn't reach her. Well, I should be proud of myself. I made a girl cry. And which girl? Alisa, who at first glance seemed to be a complete stranger to any romantic feelings. You know, I can't make this decision for the both of us. I can only say for myself that I'm ready to be with you, to support you, to protect you. But you, why do you need me? I have nothing in my soul. I don't know what I want from this life. Besides, I'm here tomorrow. I'm here now. But tomorrow I might be gone. Alisa stopped crying for a moment. Don't you understand that I already made that decision a long time ago? Then, she looked up at me with teary eyes. I might have seen happiness in them for a moment. Alisa embraced me and tenderly kissed me. It was the best kiss of my entire life. No, it wasn't as passionate as the one last night, but there was so much tenderness, trust and love that I just dissolved in her lips, in her arms. I forgot about everything, about the camp, about my past and the doubts which were tormenting a moment before. She was all that I need. Now. And forever. This kiss might have lasted forever, but suddenly a horn sounded nearby as if from inside my brain. I turned to the road and saw a bus. An old Lias. It looked like a regular one. We just lay and looked at it for some time. Soon, driver left the bus and shouted at us. Hey, lovebirds! This is the last bus to town. You coming? Shall we go? Alisa said merrily. We jumped up. I grabbed the backpack, took Alisa by the hand and ran to the bus. In a couple of seconds we made ourselves comfortable on the back seat. The driver was shouting something from his place, but I hadn't listened to him. Here it is, a rescue ship heading for a new life. I looked at Alisa. I was so eager to say something, to continue the conversation by the fire. She was sleeping peacefully, resting her head on my shoulder. I didn't wake her up. There was no need. We had so much time ahead of us. There was no one in the bus except us. The bus was going fast, leaving behind not only my previous life, but also the week I had spent in the pioneer camp called Sovyonok. I went through more during these 7 days than I had throughout all the years of my real life. And how much was still lying ahead in the future? The common country scenery in the window didn't interest me much. I was just watching Alisa peacefully sleeping. My heart was filled with warmth and calmness, and my head finally stopped bursting with thoughts. But happiness is a fragile matter. Many things can destroy it. Time, for example. The longer your happiness lasts, the The more common it becomes, emotions stall, new problems and worries appear. I felt good, but the accumulated exhaustion didn't let me to enjoy the moment. I fell asleep. It seems I'm getting old. The day was over and the hangover should have been long gone, but I still felt sick and dizzy. Despite how hard I tried, I was unable to open my eyes. I just rolled over. I wonder what awaits me in the district center. How am I to live? Maybe it's not all that bad? Well, sure, I don't know where to begin, but on the other hand, this world doesn't seem hostile. I know a lot of things here. Everyone speaks Russian. So maybe nothing bad is going to happen? Suddenly I felt very sick. Damn it. I thought it was all gone by yesterday evening. I managed to reach the toilet, moving instinctively. After some time, when my dirty business was done, I returned to the room. And then I realized I'm back in my old flat. However, it's not so old. It seems that nothing had changed during the week of my absence. The dust layers haven't even grown thicker. The keyboard position, monitor incline, and the stain from a cup of tea on the table stung my eyes. Theoretically, a man in my condition shouldn't notice such details. But the entire room drew my attention to the most minor of details, as if it was twinkling with different colors. The socks were thrown around in exactly the same manner as they had been before. The blanket sat rumpled on the unmade bed as it was before. The dirty window showed the same view of the street like a cracked kinescope. In vain, I tried to become terrified, or at least scared. Maybe it's shock effect, post-traumatic stress disorder, or something like that. After all, several hours ago I wasn't even thinking of returning to the real world. The pioneer camp, the girls, Alisa, the mythical district center where I would have arrived if I hadn't woken up in my flat, all that had started to seem real to me. Maybe my fantastic vacation to Sovyonok was just a dream? My feet started to rack up circles around the room. I held my hands behind my back and started to think everything over. Only one thing is clear. I've returned as suddenly as I arrived there. Without any reason or logic. Maybe there was some sort of explanation, but it's beyond my, or human, comprehension. Whether it was a trick by interstellar forces, or a supreme mind, or government experiments, they left no clues. If I was unable to find answers in the camp, it would be foolish to expect things to become clearer here. It's like searching for evidence in a house that's been burned to ashes. Even if a crime was committed, all the evidence was destroyed by fire. Maybe if I had the skills and equipment of a criminologist, I could find something, but the memories of the weeks spent in the camp are all I've got. But it wasn't a dream. I knew it for sure. My hangover was absolutely real. My feelings and emotions were genuine, not just the stuff of dreams. Therefore, I've been there. I spent the week in the Sovyonok pioneer camp with the camp leader and the pioneers. With Alisa. Memories of her made me sigh. It would have been great to leave with her. Wait a minute. What's wrong with me? I should be glad I returned home, to the real world. Or shouldn't I? For now, I just couldn't evaluate the situation reasonably. I couldn't understand whether I wanted to stay there or to enjoy my long-awaited return. I noticed the 5 ruble coin on the table. I took it and began to toss it up without any purpose, counting the number of heads and tails. A long time ago, maybe even in school, I heard that in an infinite number of coin tosses, the probabilities are not equal to 50% each. Maybe it's because a coin doesn't have a perfect shape and weight, or because of some other reason. However, after some time, I counted 70 heads and 71 tails. So the theory of relativity lies. But I'm not the man to judge it. I don't know much about it. I recalled my childhood, when I had heard the word tails for the first time. For some reason, it always made me think of squirrels. Maybe there is some logic in this. A squirrel does indeed have a tail. Now, this theory seems strange to me, but at the same time, I couldn't think of any conclusive evidence to disprove it. So, does it mean that squirrels come out more frequently than heads? But one must consider that a squirrel has a head as well, so... I yanked on my hair and sighed, exhausted. Now's not the time for thinking of such rubbish. On the other hand, what is now the right time for? What can I do? What is under my control? If I hadn't bothered trying to find answers during the week there, what would be the point of thinking now? Maybe I should just try to go back to my ordinary life? The words ordinary life were painful to me. Why did I choose that specific word? I could have said past, formal, or something else. I guess because it was what I wasn't used to. That's the most obvious answer. As they say, what you get used to becomes second nature to you. Instantly, all of the last week's events floated before my eyes. Did I really want to stay there so badly? Was just 1 week enough for me to get used to Olga Dmitrievna picking on me all the time, Uliana's pranks and joking around, or Alisa's cheekiness and mockery? I had no answer to this question, but it's obvious that I already miss it. Although I'm sure I'll never return there. Obviously, I can't tell whether the force that brought me there might want to entertain itself again. And again and again. Meta humor? It is possible. But for now, I have what I have. An adventure that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Damn it! How many people get to experience something like that? Even books, even dreams about such things are unthinkable. The main thing is that it wasn't Dr. Maru's evil island, but a normal Soviet pioneer camp with normal pioneers. And its commonness was overlaid by the astonishing origin of my arrival there. Anyway, it wasn't the worst experience of my life. Perhaps it was one of the best. Obviously, it's sad that everything just ended halfway through, but every story has an end. It's good that it has ended that way. Who knows what else could have happened? So far, Lena's bad ending is truly the most tragic. The other bad endings have been quite similar. Time passed. The events that took place in the camp now seem more like a fascinating novel I once read. No, I haven't forgotten them. I could recall them in the finest detail. I remember how as a child I used to lie under a blanket with a flashlight and read a fascinating book about space flight until dawn. Sometimes I was unable to get up to go to school. My parents always used to scold me for that. But with every night approaching, I would carefully turn every page, trying to absorb every minor detail of the story. I had similar feelings about that pioneer camp. Reality, if I can consider it such, now seemed more like a book. I didn't think it was bad at all. In the end, the main thing is to remember that it's not important whether these memories take the form of a slideshow, photos, video, or audio. Now each bus made me feel both fear and hope. At first I circled around the 410 route without purpose, Several times I fell asleep on the same seat. But nothing happened. Not even a trace of something supernatural. As times went by, I stopped these idle trips. Something changed in my life. It just couldn't do otherwise. A couple of weeks after my return from the camp, I took up my guitar that was lying lonely and gathering dust in a corner. Striking a couple of chords, I remembered Alisa. For me, her image was inseparable from this instrument. At first, it didn't work out very well. Maybe I just had no talent for music. I started reading teach-yourself books and watching video lessons. On the other hand, all the effort wasn't a burden anymore. I just played the chords and polished my skill. I know we've heard this so many times, but are you guys listening to how beautiful this music is? Wow. And as with any kind of activity, including music, practice makes perfect. About half a year later, I realized that I achieved some results. At least I could now smoothly play parts of my favorite songs. Satisfied with my progress, I put a couple of advertisements on music forums, intending to form my own band. I still had no idea what kind of music I wanted to play. My tastes varied from something really heavy to anime soundtracks. Same. At first it seemed impossible for me. I would have to communicate with strangers. What if we are just too different? And anyway, how do I explain to others what music I want to make? But it all worked out much easier. The potential candidates turned out to be not so frightening and our tastes were mostly the same. After all, we shared the same goals, so issues stemming from a lack of understanding could be resolved. And soon we had a band. Suddenly I discovered my talent as a composer. Having spent entire days and nights on the note editor and sequencers, I started composing okay-ish things, at least in the opinions of the other band members and pals I showed my songs to. Quite soon we gave our first concert. A D-list club not significantly more spacious than my bedroom. 3.5 viewers who weren't exactly sober. I was hellishly anxious and the sound equipment was constantly malfunctioning. But all of that didn't bother me, because I was happy. But since this was just the first step to success. However, it was a long time before we were invited again. With great difficulty we managed to record 3 tracks and publish them on the internet. The reviews were far from ecstatic, but it didn't bother me much. It was just the beginning. Maybe some considered our music just a leisure activity or a brief fixation, but for me it was serious. After all, it was me who founded the band and all the music was mine as well. I felt a personal responsibility for the fate of my creation. Every spare moment I spent on improving my performance technique, and after a year, I could already confidently say that I wasn't the worst guitarist in the world. Then some sort of popularity came. We were giving concerts almost every week, and we were finally getting paid. It wasn't important that it was just 500 rubles per man. The fact that our work was in demand and someone was ready to pay for it was what mattered. I was sitting before my monitor, torturing a guitar. The date of an upcoming concert was thickly circled on the computer desktop calendar. The very thought of that gave me goosebumps. It would be the first time we will be headliners. And we'll have an album presentation as well. I wonder how many discs would be sold. Of course, the CD era is already over, but there are still some who appreciate it. And maybe some will buy it just to support the band. I looked at the date once more. Yes, it is exactly a year since I returned from Sovyonok. My smile reflected in a darkened monitor screen. I wonder whether Alisa would like my music if she existed in this world. don't think so. She preferred Soviet rock classics. But who knows? I played a couple of complicated guitar parts and concluded with a feeling of satisfaction that the sound of my guitar surpasses by far that of the Soviet Ural guitars, and my skill has overcome that of the guitarists of the same era. I wonder whether I would have achieved all this without those fantastic events. Unlikely. Nothing strange about that. Lots of people rethink their life after stepping close to the edge. Sure, nothing dangerous happened back then, but a psychological shock is a good substitute for grave danger. I rehearsed my part once more, put the guitar into a case, packed all my stuff and headed to the exit. It was cold outside, just like that day. Slowly I approached the bus stop for the 410. Such confidence. I am going to the club on this very same bus. With a sinking heart I counted down the seconds. Soon the bus arrived. It idly opened its doors and swallowed up a few passengers. It was a winter night, just like back then. Cars flashed by outside with their headlights igniting the city as it got ready to sleep. The closer we got to the downtown area, the more people there were in the streets. Some of them were chatting merrily, some were perusing magnificent boutique windows, and some were hurrying somewhere, paying no attention to anything. This day, I had no wish to return to that camp. Any other time maybe, but not today. I must play the concert, and the rest can go to hell. I had a clear aim and nothing else mattered. The club was considerably bigger than the one we played our first concert in, but at the moment it was empty. The sound check was going on. I couldn't hear the drums through the monitor loudspeakers, which I desperately tried a sound guy about. Sound tuned, gadgets installed, set list all prepared, ready to rock. But it is a special day. We're not doing the warm-up. The other guys are doing the warm-up before our concert. Thus, our entrance is last. As I listened to the first band, I noted that they have a lot of improving to do. On the other hand, we were no better, not so long ago. As the time got closer to the start of our performance, my tension grew enormous. Come on, I was literally shaking with anxiety. I decided not to listen to the other band and to wait calmly in the dressing room. Judging by their expressions, my mates were in the same mood. We were silent. Actually, we had nothing to talk about. Our parts were learned and perfected a long time ago. Only nervousness could hinder us, but we already have some experience, so everything will be fine. At least, I comforted myself with this thought. Just when you think this game can't surprise you anymore. And now, finally the time's come. I don't remember how we entered the stage and greeted the audience. My consciousness turned on when the first chords of our first song came from the speakers. While sitting in the makeup room, I desperately tried to warm my ice-cold fingers, but now they ran from string to string without the slightest mistake, as if they were charmed. A thought flashed across my mind. Why didn't I still make a single mistake? When I played all these parts at home or during rehearsals, I never thought about it. Everything seemed to matter, of course. But now when I stood in front of an audience, it felt different. Somewhere deep in my mind there was a thought that soon my finger would slip, and thank goodness the thinking didn't interfere with my playing. Our performance was nearing the end, and now it was the time for the difficult solo I'd been learning for so long. By that point my nervousness had vanished and I played through it perfectly, even better than during the rehearsals. " Y'all are too kind. Finally, our performance was over and the concert hall burst with applause. I smiled awkwardly and bowed several times with the rest of the band. They shouted encore to us. Even without them shouting, I would have been glad to play something else, but we'd run out of songs as we were just a newly formed band. Euphoria prevailed in the dressing room as we congratulated and hugged each other. The sounds of opening champagne bottles echoed in the halls. All our discs had been sold, which made me even happier. Finally, I managed to become something too. It's impossible to predict the future of our band, or of the whole affair with music. But one thing was clear. I have finally found something I am interested in and can dedicate my entire life to. As well as that, I can see that it may be able to make people other than me happy too. I was probably now the happiest man on the earth. At least, it was surely the best moment of my life. The club is empty, instruments are packed, and I am waiting for the others so we can go home. What? But... Hey. I turned around and saw a girl standing nearby. Her tone wasn't too polite, but it wasn't hostile either. I liked your performance. Thanks. The darkness of the club prevented me from clearly seeing her face, but I was sure that it was extremely familiar to me. And you... I stepped forward. Exactly! It was Alisa! I froze on the spot, unable to speak. What about me? Nothing. I just thought I'd seen you somewhere. I decided not to jump at her with questions about a pioneer camp. After all, it's possible that this girl merely looks like her. Or something like that. Anyway, it was obvious that she was seeing me for the first time. Or at least was pretending to. Well, generally it's true. She peered. My name's Semyon. Forcing an artificial smile, I offered her my hand. I actually know that. How? Read it on the internet. Yes, of course. And you are... Alisa. She replied somewhat confusedly. So I was right. But how right was I? Listen, did you ever go to a pioneer camp as a child? No? Why are you asking? It just seemed that I met you there. How could you have met me there if I've never been there? She laughed. Yes, all of you musicians are somehow strange. No doubt. Well, I just wanted to say that your music's not too bad. Alisa turned to leave. I felt that I need to do something, say something. Will you come to our next concert? When? To be honest, I had no idea myself. Soon. Yes. Maybe. Send me a message. Yeah, sure. We shared our contact details with each other. Then I'll see you again. Probably. She waved her hand and went out. Obviously, I had no idea if she was that very same Alisa I met in the camp. Any number of theories were nullified by an absolute absence of facts. But at that moment, it was the last thing that concerned me, as I was filled with emotions both from the concert and meeting Alisa. After all, nothing's preventing me from calling her. Then we'll see. I smiled, shouldered my guitar, and started walking to the 410 bus stop with my mates. Okay. So, this is a bit awkward. I just accidentally got the good ending first. I have no idea how this happened. I purposely made a bad choice so I would get the bad ending. You guys are going to get it in order. In the video you're going to see the bad ending first. I think, cuz I'm going to try to put it first. But then a lot of the dialogue overlaps, so I have no idea what I'm going to do. How did that happen? I purposely made bad choices, right? I thought I did. I guess we're gonna have to put the bad ending after this? I'll figure something out, right? But in case this is the end of the video, thanks for watching. Until next time, I think. Bye.